I'm just Nick, and this is the Catalinbread Super Chili Picoso Boost. Now, you may have heard the term cork sniffer applied to people who, I don't know, spend all their time making videos about guitar effects pedals. Generally, the implication of such a term is that some of us can be a little bit concerned with nuances of guitar gear that really don't make that much difference to the people who are listening to our music, and might not even make that much difference to our music. And I think that where clean boost pedals are concerned, and the comparison of them and the sort of hand-wringing about them, those people who sometimes call guitar gear heads cork sniffers might have a point. Quite honestly, I can't really tell the difference between one clean boost pedal and another, assuming it's working properly and is, moderately well designed. It takes your signal and it makes it stronger, louder, and it optimally does so without changing it. That's why it's called a clean boost. It doesn't add distortion and it doesn't change your tone. However, this is not just a run-of-the-mill clean boost pedal. It has a switch on it, and that switch is labeled, when in the down position, clean, and in the up position, fat. And what that switch does is it adds a little bit of mid-range girth, nothing exaggerated, crazy over the top, nasal, or anything like that. Just a little bit of extra mid-range oomph to your signal, along with the clean boost. So here's what it sounds like running into what is a very small low-powered amp, a Fender Vibrochamp that's right behind me. Here's what it sounds like on clean. And here's what it sounds like on fat. A little bit more distortion, a little bit less of the sort of, one might describe it as a slightly harsh quality of this amp being overdriven. Okay, what is this all about? Well, we're plugged into a small low-powered amp, which sounds pretty good when you turn it up, and it makes crunchy sounds that people like a lot, particularly for studio or home use. They get very dynamic kind of distortion by overdriving the input of a small amp and overdriving the output tubes, and it can sound pretty exciting. But some of the amps that people choose to do this with, like a Fender Vibrochamp, or in general smaller Fender Silverface or Blackface style amps, are kind of bright amps, and they lack a little bit of mid-range. It's kind of scooped out. And when you overdrive them, they can sound a little bit bright and harsh and sort of toppy. And when you add to that situation the fact that most of the speakers that are generally mated with these amps tend to accentuate highs, you can get a pretty kind of bright kind of overdriven sound that, though I like it, you may not. Well, there's an easy solution with this pedal, which is to switch to fat, and you get just the right amount of extra mid-range to kind of soften that harshness and fill things out a little bit. It's almost as if, instead of just distorting on the attack of the note, when you really hit those strings hard, now we're kind of distorting a little bit more into the rest of the note, into the sustain of the note. And it's also really noticeable on single notes for lead playing, right? That's on clean, and that's on fat. So, a very pleasing effect that I think is particularly useful when you're working with brighter amps, brighter guitars with single coils in them, like my beloved Sputnik Telecaster right here. There's another thing that I discovered about this switch, which I'm really beginning to feel is kind of, a magic switch. And it's this. Sometimes when you're using a clean boost with an amplifier, you like to be able to use the volume control on your guitar to control how much distortion you're getting. So you get your crunchy tones and you roll back the volume and you get your clean tones. Very nice way to play. However, as you will note, when you roll back the volume and you're using a clean boost to boost your signal, sometimes things get a little bit kind of thin sounding and stringy sounding. And I'll tell you, this guitar has a really nicely set up volume control that doesn't really do this when it's plugged straight into an amp, but it can happen with a clean boost. Not just this clean boost, any clean boost. Well, there's a solution to that, again, and it's this switch. Here's our crunchy sounds. Here's our clean sounds. Still nice and full. We didn't lose that mid-range or exaggerate those highs in the ways we did before. So not only does this switch give you kind of a new range of distortion sounds, it also gives you a new range of sounds that you can control effectively with your volume control. And that's why I really, really love it. Of course, you can use this clean boost for the other things they're useful for. If you roll the gain all the way back, it's going to act as basically a buffer. It's not going to make your signal any stronger or louder, but what it is going to do is show the amplifier a low impedance output instead of a high impedance output from the pickups. And what this means is that even if you're running 20 feet of cable, as we are here, a 10-footer going in and a 10-footer going out, we're not going to lose our highs, right? These are perfectly good cables. They're low capacitance cables, but any cable, once you get over 15, 20 feet, you're going to be rolling off just a little bit of the highs, and it's not that noticeable, but in a live situation, anything we can do to reduce mud and increase clarity often is something we want to do. Well, one thing we can do is simply turn on the Super Chili Picoso with the gain volume all the way down, and we get a little bit more clarity, but no real change in tone. Just a little bit more of our guitar sound as it would sound through a shorter cable. I don't know what else to tell you, really. This is a fine, fine clean boost pedal with a very special switch on it. And personally, I think you should call the folks up at Rock and Roll Vintage, or just check them out online at rockandrollvintage.com and tell them you need your Super Chili Picoso. They're cool people. They will be nice to you, and not just because you're buying stuff from them, and they will answer your questions. But perhaps even more importantly, if they don't know the answer to a question, they won't bullshit you, okay? They're going to go find the answer, and that's pretty cool. What do you think? Works for me. Until next time, this is just Nick. I'll see you soon.